Hey everyone, tonight we're venturing into the body's hidden architecture, exploring a subject that's powerful, elegant and far too often left in the dark. We're about to map the intricate, internal dance of a female erection. If you appreciate delving into topics like this, consider liking this video and subscribing. It tells me you value this kind of content, and it helps more people find our little corner of the internet. This is a journey inward, so let's set the scene for quiet discovery. It all begins not with a bang, but with a subtle cascade. Imagine a signal, a spark of electricity that travels through pathways you never knew existed. This is the nervous system whispering a message, causing a bloom of warmth to radiate from the inside out. We'll explore how the clitoris with its vast hidden roots engorges, and how the vestibular bulbs, like a secret supportive architecture, swell and transform. It's a physiological masterpiece of hydraulics and sensation. I'd love to know, what was a topic you learned about as an adult that you wish you'd been taught in school? Let me know in the comments. I'm so curious to hear your experiences. Alright, let's trace that first signal and see where it takes us. Deep within the quiet architecture of the pelvic basin, a subtle shift begins. You are an observer here, witnessing a process that unfolds in a world unseen, a landscape of living tissue awakening to a silent command. The first intimation is not a grand event, but a gentle and almost imperceptible change in the clitoral bulbs, two collections of erectile tissue that rest on either side of the vaginal canal, like twin roots anchoring a complex and hidden structure. Here in this protected space, a steady arrival of blood commences. It is not a rush, nor a surge, but a methodical and quiet perfusion, a deliberate redirection of the body's vital currents. Imagine a landscape at dawn, where the light does not burst forth but gradually fills the space, revealing textures and forms that were previously held in shadow. This is the nature of the initial engorgement. The tissue itself, a marvel of biological engineering, is composed of a porous sponge-like matrix. It is designed for one primary purpose: to accept and hold fluid, to expand without strain, to become a vessel of temporary volume. The intricate network of spaces within this tissue, known as sinusoidal spaces, begins to open. They do not force their expansion, they yield, allowing the incoming arterial flow to fill them with a patient and persistent rhythm. You can perceive this as a slow and methodical transformation, a structure changing its state from rest to readiness. The warmth that accompanies this influx is a simple byproduct of thermodynamics, the heat carried by the blood itself, now concentrating in this specific region. It is a localized increase in temperature, a physical fact of this intricate process. The tissue's color deepens, shifting to a richer, more saturated hue, a visual confirmation of the increased presence of oxygenated hemoglobin. Every part of this initial phase is governed by a quiet efficiency, a system operating according to its inherent design. The expansion is not uniform or instantaneous. It is a gradual unfurling beginning in the deepest portions of the bulbs and slowly radiating outward, each cluster of cells responding in sequence. The very texture of the tissue begins to alter. What was soft and yielding becomes firm, yet it retains a profound elasticity, a capacity to swell while maintaining its structural integrity. This is the foundation of the entire event, the preparatory stage that occurs long before any external signs are visible. It is a hidden ballet of fluid dynamics, a testament to the body's capacity for profound and localized change. You are watching the very definition of potential energy being stored within this living matrix. The pressure within the bulbs begins to rise, but it is a controlled and steady increase, managed by the remarkable properties of the surrounding tissues. The tunica albuginea, a tough fibrous sheath that encases the erectile bodies, contains this expansion. It provides both support and limitation, ensuring that the swelling is directed and purposeful. This sheath is not rigid. It is a dynamic container stretching to accommodate the growing volume while also providing the necessary back pressure that is crucial for the process. Without this elegant containment, the engorgement would be diffuse and ineffective. Instead, it is focused, creating a firm and responsive structure from once pliable tissue. You are observing a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering, scaled down to the microscopic level. The process continues in this calm and measured way, a slow and deliberate gathering of resources. The arterial vessels that feed this region, having received their command, remain open and dilated, ensuring a continuous and uninterrupted supply. The venous pathways, which would normally carry blood away from the region, are beginning to be gently compressed by the swelling tissue itself. This is a passive but critical part of the mechanism, a natural consequence of the expanding volume. The outflow is gently restricted, allowing the internal pressure to build in a stable and sustained manner. This is the essence of a vascular erection, more fluid arriving than is permitted to leave. The balance is precise, a finely tuned equilibrium that transforms the tissue's state. The bulbs, now fuller and firmer, begin to exert a gentle pressure on the surrounding structures. They press against the vestibular bulbs and the base of the corpus spongiosum of the urethra, contributing to a broader area of responsive firmness. This is not an aggressive action, but a consequence of their altered physical presence. They are now occupying more space, their form more defined, their function as erectile bodies fully engaged. The entire event unfolds with a quiet and profound grace, a seamless transition from one state to another. You are a witness to the very beginning, the first chapter in a story of intricate biological design. It is a story told not in words but in the silent, coordinated language of cellular response, fluid dynamics, and anatomical precision. The wonder of this moment lies in its subtlety, in the immense complexity that underpins such a gentle and controlled transformation. The stage is being set for a more expansive event, yet this initial stirring deep within is a marvel in its own right, a quiet and powerful awakening in a hidden internal world. The machinery is now active, the foundation laid. The quiet hum of biological activity continues its work, a symphony of microscopic events culminating in a singular observable change in the state of the tissue, a testament to the elegant and efficient processes that govern the human form. The journey has only just begun, yet you have already witnessed a profound secret of the body's inner landscape. The stillness of the surrounding pelvic region provides a stark contrast to the focused and dynamic changes occurring within these specific structures, highlighting the precision of the body's control systems. It is an isolated and specific event, a testament to the nervous system's ability to target its influence with incredible accuracy. The surrounding muscles remain at rest, the organs continue their own quiet functions, undisturbed by the localized drama unfolding within the erectile tissue. This compartmentalization is another hallmark of the body's efficiency, its ability to orchestrate complex, simultaneous operations without interference. The initial swelling of the bulbs is a solitary and focused event, the first note in a much larger composition played with perfect and serene control. The very air around you seems to still as you focus on this microscopic theater, a world of immense power and intricacy contained within a few cubic centimeters of living tissue. This is the prologue, written in the universal language of physiology. The origin of this quiet transformation lies not in the tissue itself but in a signal, a command dispatched from the intricate command center of the brain. This is where you must now turn your attention, to the source of the directive, to understand the full scope of the process. The signal is not a vague impulse but a highly specific set of instructions, a cascade of electrochemical events initiated within the cerebral cortex and the limbic system. A thought, a memory, a sensory input, any of these can be the catalyst, the first domino in a chain of precise neurological responses. The brain, in its role as the ultimate governor of the body, processes these catalysts and, should the conditions be met, formulates a response. The response travels as a series of nerve impulses, elegant and fleeting packets of information journeying down the spinal cord. They descend through the vertebral column, protected and insulated, until they reach the sacral plexus, a complex interchange of nerves situated in the lower back. From here the message is relayed outward, along the pelvic splanchnic nerves. You can imagine these nerves as dedicated communication lines, reserved for carrying specific types of information to the pelvic organs. The system that carries this particular message is the autonomic nervous system, the body's silent background operator. This is the same system that regulates your heartbeat, your digestion, your breathing, the vital functions that proceed without your conscious intervention. It operates in two primary modes: the sympathetic, which governs the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic, which controls the rest and digest functions. The signal for erection travels along the parasympathetic pathways, a clear indication that this is a process associated with a state of calm, not of alarm or stress. The nerve endings of these parasympathetic fibers do not connect directly to the muscle cells of the blood vessels. Instead, they terminate near them, releasing a chemical messenger, a neurotransmitter, into the microscopic space between the nerve and the tissue. The primary messenger in this instance is acetylcholine, but acetylcholine is only the first courier. Its arrival triggers the endothelial cells, the smooth single layer of cells lining the blood vessels, to begin their own crucial task. They start to produce a remarkable and simple molecule, nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a gas, a transient and highly effective signaling molecule. It is the true key that unlocks the door to vasodilation. Once produced, this gas diffuses rapidly across the cell membranes into the smooth muscle cells that encircle the arteries. Within these muscle cells, the nitric oxide activates an enzyme called guanylate cyclase. This enzyme in turn initiates the production of another signaling molecule, cyclic guanosine monophosphate, or cGMP. It is this final molecule, cGMP, that is the direct agent of relaxation. It causes a decrease in intracellular calcium levels within the muscle cells. Without a high concentration of calcium, the muscle fibers can no longer maintain their contracted toned state. They relax. This relaxation of the smooth muscle walls of the arteries is the essence of vasodilation. The arteries widen, their internal diameter increases, and their resistance to blood flow plummets. It is a beautifully efficient and elegant cascade, a chain of command where each step logically and swiftly follows the last. The result is the very phenomenon you first observed, a steady increased flow of blood into the spongy erectile tissues. The precision is breathtaking. The nervous system does not simply flood the entire pelvic region with blood. It targets only the specific arteries feeding the clitoral structures, a feat of immense biological accuracy. While this is happening, a secondary and equally important process is initiated. The same neurological signals that command the arteries to dilate also send instructions that lead to the compression of the veins. The swelling erectile tissue, as it expands, presses upon the thin-walled venules and veins that drain the blood away. This pressure, combined with the contraction of specific pelvic floor muscles, constricts the venous outflow. The engineering is flawless. The system simultaneously opens the inflow gates while partially closing the outflow gates. This creates the sustained state of engorgement, the plateau of firmness that characterizes the erectile state. You are observing a closed hydraulic system being activated, one where pressure can be built and maintained with remarkable stability. The signal is not a single momentary pulse, it is a continuous stream of instructions from the nervous system. As long as the initial stimulus is present and the brain continues to send the maintain command, the production of nitric oxide continues. A secondary and equally important process is initiated. The same neurological signals that command the arteries to dilate also send instructions that lead to the compression of the veins. The swelling erectile tissue, as it expands, presses upon the thin-walled venules and veins that drain the blood away. This pressure, combined with the contraction of specific pelvic floor muscles, constricts the venous outflow. The engineering is flawless. The system simultaneously opens the inflow gates while partially closing the outflow gates. This creates the sustained state of engorgement, the plateau of firmness that characterizes the erectile state. You are observing a closed hydraulic system being activated, one where pressure can be built and maintained with remarkable stability. The signal is not a single momentary pulse, it is a continuous stream of instructions from the nervous system. As long as the initial stimulus is present and the brain continues to send the maintain command, the production of nitric oxide continues, the smooth muscles remain relaxed, and the erectile tissue stays engorged. The entire process is a feedback loop. The physical sensations from the engorged tissue travel back to the brain, reinforcing the initial signal and creating a stable, sustained state. This plateau is not a static condition, but a dynamic equilibrium, constantly adjusted and maintained by the nervous system. The level of firmness can be modulated, increased or decreased by the frequency and intensity of the nerve signals. It is a responsive system, capable of subtle and significant adjustments in real time. The brain remains the master controller, orchestrating this complex interplay of nerve signals, chemical messengers, and vascular mechanics from a distance. The beauty of the autonomic nervous system is that this all occurs without any conscious thought or effort. You, the observer, are merely a witness to a pre-programmed, perfectly executed biological subroutine. It is a testament to the body's innate intelligence, its ability to carry out profoundly complex tasks with an air of effortless grace. The journey of the signal, from a fleeting thought to a profound physical transformation in the pelvic basin, is a story of communication. It is a narrative of messengers and receivers, of keys and locks, all operating on a microscopic scale with a speed and precision that defy imagination. The quiet stirring you first witnessed in the clitoral bulbs was the final physical manifestation of this invisible lightning-fast neurological journey. Understanding this pathway reveals that the female erection is not just a local vascular event, it is a holistic mind-body process, a true collaboration between the central nervous system and the peripheral anatomy. The two are inextricably linked, one being the command and the other being the faithful execution of that command. The system is now in a state of readiness, the signal active, the architecture transformed. Now that the signal has arrived and the initial engorgement has been achieved, your journey as an observer continues deeper into the remarkable architecture of the clitoris itself. This is not a single small point but a vast and intricate structure, most of which resides hidden from view, deep within the body. You began your observation with the bulbs, the twin foundations, but now you must expand your perspective to appreciate the full extent of this biological marvel. Let us trace the structure inward, following the path of its design. Extending backward from the main body of the clitoris are two further limbs of erectile tissue, known as the crura, from the Latin word for legs. These two crura diverge, forming an inverted V shape. They are intimately anchored to the pubic arch, the bony framework of the pelvis. This connection is not incidental, it is a critical piece of structural engineering. By being firmly attached to the bone, the crura provide a stable foundation for the entire erectile apparatus, ensuring that during engorgement, the structure is supported and secure. Like the bulbs, the crura are composed of the same spongy, porous tissue, the corpus cavernosum. When the vasodilatory signal arrives, they too fill with blood, becoming rigid and firm. Their engorgement serves to further stabilize the entire clitoral body, bracing it against the pelvic bone. You can visualize this as the anchoring roots of a tree, providing strength and stability, allowing the rest of the structure to express its function. The crura are a testament to the principle that much of the body's most profound work happens out of sight, in the silent supportive structures that make overt function possible. From the junction of these two crura, the body of the clitoris extends forward. This is the central and largest part of the internal structure, a shaft composed of two parallel corpora cavernosa, wrapped together by the same dense fibrous sheath, the tunica albuginea. This shared sheath binds them into a single unified structure, allowing them to function as one. As you observe this central body, now fully engorged, you can appreciate its role as the primary erectile shaft. It is here that the majority of the hydraulic pressure is contained, creating a firm, responsive column of tissue. The firmness is not like bone, it is a living rigidity, a turgor pressure created by the containment of fluid. The tunica albuginea plays its role perfectly here, stretching to its predetermined limit, its tightly woven collagen fibers providing a boundary that creates and maintains the internal pressure. The very act of this sheath stretching puts pressure on the veins that would otherwise drain the corpora cavernosa, effectively sealing the system and sustaining the plateau of engorgement you are now witnessing. The body of the clitoris curves forward and upward, following the line of the pubic bone before turning downward to terminate in the most externally visible part of the structure. This bend or angle is another feature of its elegant design. It allows the internal body to remain protected within the pelvic structure while positioning the most sensitive portion for its functional role. You can see the pure logic in this anatomical arrangement, a design that balances protection with external interface. The entire structure is held in place not just by its bony anchor points but by a series of suspensory ligaments. These ligaments connect the body of the clitoris to the pubic symphysis, the cartilaginous joint at the front of the pelvis. They act like guy wires, providing support and allowing for a degree of movement while preventing excessive displacement. This ensures that the structure, even in its fully engorged state, remains correctly positioned and stable. It is another layer of quiet, background engineering that is essential for the proper functioning of the whole. Your observational tour now takes you to the distal end of the clitoral body, to the glans. This is the only portion of the clitoris that is typically visible externally, the small button-like structure at the top of the vulva. While it appears small, it is merely the tip of a much larger submerged iceberg of tissue. The glans is developmentally homologous to the glans of the penis, and it shares a similar function as the site of the greatest concentration of sensory nerve endings. It is formed from a continuation of the corpus spongiosum tissue, which is slightly less rigid than the corpora cavernosa of the body. This difference in tissue composition gives the glans a slightly softer, more cushioned quality even when engorged, a design feature that allows for intense sensory perception without pain. It is here that you can truly appreciate the scale of the neurological wiring involved. The glans clitoris, a structure often no larger than a pea, is populated with an astonishing number of nerve fibers. The total count for the entire clitoral body is estimated to be over 8,000, that is 8,000 individual nerve endings dedicated to receiving and transmitting sensory information. This density of innervation is unparalleled anywhere else in the human body. To put this into perspective, it is a higher number than the nerve endings found in the entire human hand. You are observing a structure that is by its very design a nexus of sensory potential. Frame this not in terms of feeling but in terms of information capacity. Each of these 8,000 fibers is a data channel, a pathway capable of transmitting complex signals about pressure, temperature, and texture back to the central nervous system. The sheer bandwidth for sensory input is immense. It is a biological masterpiece of information gathering, a testament to the importance of this structure in the body's overall sensory map. The surface of the glands is covered by a thin layer of epithelium, which is rich in these specialized nerve receptors. When the glands becomes engorged, it swells and becomes more exposed, its surface area increasing and its position shifting slightly forward. This physical change makes it more accessible to external stimuli, a direct consequence of the hydraulic process you have been observing from the beginning. The entire structure, from the deep roots of the crura to the information-rich tip of the glands, is now in a sustained state of vascular erection. It is a stable plateau, a system in equilibrium. The arterial inflow, driven by the parasympathetic signal, perfectly balances the restricted venous outflow. The result is a consistent level of firmness and sensitivity, a state that can be maintained as long as the neurological commands continue. You are not witnessing a crescendo or a build-up, but a steady state of being. It is like observing a perfectly functioning machine that has reached its operational speed and can now maintain it with quiet efficiency. This plateau phase is the core of the erectile event, the sustained period where the anatomical changes are held in a stable functional state. It is a quiet miracle of control, a testament to the body's ability to not only initiate a profound change but to hold it, to sustain it, to maintain a new and temporary reality within its own tissues. Let us continue our architectural tour, focusing now on the finer details of this sustained plateau. Your viewpoint as an observer allows you to appreciate the microscopic landscape of this engorged state, a world of cellular precision and fluid grace. Zoom in on the corpora cavernosa, the twin erectile columns that form the body and crura within their fibrous sheath, the tunica albuginea. The scene is one of controlled expansion. The sponge-like tissue is now saturated with blood, its internal spaces, the sinusoids, distended and full. The smooth muscle cells that form the walls of these spaces, the trabeculae, are in a state of profound relaxation, their tone completely released by the action of cyclic guanosine monophosphate. This relaxation is what allows the sinusoids to swell to their maximum capacity, transforming the tissue from a pliable, almost empty state to a firm, turgid structure. The blood itself is not static. While the outflow is restricted, it is not entirely halted. There is still a slow, continuous perfusion, a gentle current that ensures the tissue remains oxygenated and healthy. You can imagine it as a lake fed by a river, with only a small, slow stream for an outlet. The water level remains high and stable, but there is a constant, subtle renewal. This is crucial for the health of the cells during this prolonged period of engorgement. Stagnant blood would quickly lose its oxygen and accumulate metabolic waste products. The body's design is too elegant for such an oversight. It ensures that even in this state of high-pressure containment, the tissue remains viable and nourished. This slow, continuous flow is a testament to the delicate balance the system maintains. It is a state of high readiness, but also of sustained life. Now consider again the tunica albuginea, the containing sheath. It is not a simple uniform layer. It is a bilayered structure with an inner circular layer and an outer longitudinal layer of collagen fibers. This complex woven arrangement gives it immense tensile strength, allowing it to withstand the high internal pressures of erection, which can be many times greater than the body's normal systolic blood pressure. Yet, it also possesses a carefully calibrated elasticity. It stretches, but only to a point. This limitation is what creates the firmness. If it were infinitely stretchable, the tissue would simply continue to swell without becoming rigid. If it were completely rigid, no swelling could occur at all. Its properties are precisely tuned for its hydraulic function. You are observing a biological pressure vessel of extraordinary design. The sheath also plays an active role in the venous occlusion mechanism. As it stretches, its inner layers of fibers press down upon the emissary veins that pass through it, squeezing them shut. This is a purely mechanical effect, a brilliant piece of passive engineering. The more the erectile tissue swells, the more the draining veins are compressed, creating a self-reinforcing loop that helps to rapidly achieve and then maintain the erection. The design is both simple and profoundly effective. Let us now turn our attention to the surrounding structures and their role in this stable plateau. The entire clitoral apparatus is supported by the pelvic floor muscles, particularly the ischiocavernosus and bulbospongiosus muscles. During the erectile process, these muscles can undergo a tonic contraction, a sustained low-level state of firmness. This is not a convulsive or rhythmic contraction, but a steady supportive clenching. This muscular action serves to further compress the veins draining the clitoris and to increase the rigidity of the erectile bodies themselves. It is as if the body is providing a muscular scaffolding to buttress the hydraulic pressure within the tissue. This muscular involvement demonstrates once again that the erection is not an isolated vascular event. It is a coordinated effort involving the nervous system, the vascular system, and the musculoskeletal system, all working in concert to create and sustain a specific physiological state. The body acts as a whole, a unified system. The plateau you are witnessing is therefore not just a state of vascular fullness, but a state of integrated multi-system readiness. Every component is playing its part in maintaining this quiet, powerful equilibrium. The sensory information continues to flow from the over 8,000 nerve endings, traveling up the pudendal nerve to the spinal cord and onto the brain. The brain processes this continuous stream of data, using it to modulate the outgoing parasympathetic signals. If the initial stimulus remains, the brain continues to send the maintain command. The entire loop, from brain to tissue and back to the brain, remains active and stable. You are observing a state of heightened potential, a system held at a peak of operational readiness, but in a calm and controlled manner. The wonder of this plateau is its stability. It is not a fleeting moment, but a sustained state. The body has created a new temporary reality for this specific anatomical region, and it can hold that reality for a significant duration. This ability to maintain a physiological state is as remarkable as the ability to initiate it. It speaks to the precision of the body's regulatory mechanisms, the intricate feedback loops that allow for such fine control. As you continue your observation, you see no escalation. There is no building tension, no move towards a further peak. The system has reached its designed operational state and is now simply holding there. It is a state of profound stillness amidst immense potential, a quiet hum of sustained activity. This is the anatomical and physiological truth of the erectile plateau, a marvel of hydraulic and neurological engineering, held in perfect stable balance. The sensory landscape is rich with potential information, the structure is firm and responsive, and the entire system is in a state of quiet, vigilant readiness. The journey of discovery into this hidden world reveals not chaos or overwhelming force but order, control, and a deep architectural elegance. The beauty lies in the quiet confidence of the design, its ability to function so perfectly without fanfare or drama. The silent, powerful transformation is now complete and sustained. As you maintain your observational post, your focus can now broaden to encompass the entirety of the external vulvar region, to see how the sustained plateau within the deep structures manifests on the surface. The changes are subtle, yet significant, and speak to the comprehensive nature of the erectile response. The initial swelling you witness deep within the clitoral bulbs has a direct effect on the labia minora, the inner lips of the vulva. Because the bulbs are located at the base of the labia, their engorgement causes the labia minora to swell, to become fuller and firmer. This change also often results in a deepening of their color, a phenomenon known as vasocongestion. The delicate tissue takes on a richer, darker hue, a direct visual indicator of the increased blood volume it now holds. This is the same process you saw in the internal tissues, now expressed externally. The labia minora do not contain erectile tissue in the same way the clitoris does, but they are exceptionally rich in blood vessels. The same vasodilatory signals that act on the clitoral arteries also have an effect on these vessels, causing them to relax and allowing more blood to enter the area. The result is a gentle puffiness, a softening and swelling of the tissue that is a hallmark of this sustained plateau. You can see this as a ripple effect, the central erectile event radiating its influence outward to the surrounding tissues. The labia majora, the outer lips, also undergo a subtle transformation. While their change is typically less pronounced than that of the inner lips, they too experience increased blood flow. This can lead to a slight smoothing of their surface, and a gentle flattening and separation as the underlying tissues become fuller. It is a quiet reconfiguration of the external landscape, a response to the profound hydraulic changes occurring beneath the surface. The entire vulvar region becomes a landscape of heightened vascularity. Now direct your attention to the vaginal canal itself. While the vagina is not an erectile organ, it responds to the same neurological and vascular signals in its own unique way. The walls of the vagina are surrounded by a rich network of blood vessels, a venous plexus. During this sustained plateau, this plexus becomes engorged with blood. The result is a process called vaginal transudation. The increased pressure within these blood vessels causes a clear lubricating fluid to seep through the semi-permeable walls of the vaginal epithelium. This is not the product of a gland, but a direct mechanical filtration of fluid from the bloodstream, a sweating of the vaginal walls. You are witnessing another marvel of physiological design. The body, in anticipation of a potential function, prepares the environment by creating a lubricating medium through a passive hydraulic process. The fluid itself is an ultrafiltrate of blood plasma, a testament to the direct connection between vascular engorgement and surface lubrication. This process happens quietly and steadily throughout the plateau phase, ensuring the vaginal environment is altered in concert with the erectile changes in the clitoris. Furthermore, the engorgement of the vascular tissues surrounding the vagina causes a change in its shape. The inner two-thirds of the vaginal barrel actually lengthen and expand, a phenomenon sometimes referred to as tenting. The cervix and uterus are pulled slightly upward and back, creating more space in the posterior portion of the vaginal canal. At the same time, the outer one-third of the vagina, which is surrounded by the engorged clitoral bulbs and other vascular tissues, becomes slightly more constricted. This creates what is known as the orgasmic platform, though in this context of quiet observation we will call it the vasocongestive cuff. It is a band of turgid tissue at the opening of the vagina, a direct result of the localized swelling of the erectile and vascular structures. You can observe this as a complete topographical reconfiguration of the pelvic region, both internally and externally. The entire area is in a transformed state, a unified response to a single sustained command from the nervous system. From the deep, anchoring crura to the sensitive glands, from the swelling labia to the lubricating walls of the vagina, every component has shifted into a new state of being. The plateau you are observing is not just clitoral, it is pelvic. It is a holistic state of readiness that encompasses a wide array of tissues and structures. Each change is logical, each is interconnected. The swelling of the bulbs directly contributes to the vasocongestive cuff. The vasodilation that engorges the clitoris is the same process that lubricates the vagina. It is a beautifully integrated system, where each part supports the function of the whole. The stability of this state remains its most remarkable feature. The body is not rushing towards a conclusion. It is holding this complex, multifaceted state in a perfect dynamic equilibrium. The flow of sensory information from the entire region continues to travel to the brain, providing a constant stream of feedback that allows for the maintenance of this plateau. The scene is one of quiet, powerful potential. The entire landscape, both the hidden internal world and the visible external one, has been transformed. It is a testament to the profound and far-reaching effects of the initial simple signal you traced from the brain. The body has built a new temporary reality, a state of heightened vascularity and sensitivity, and it is holding it with serene and perfect control. The air of quiet marvel persists as you take in the full scope of these coordinated changes, a symphony of physiological responses playing out in perfect harmony. The sheer elegance of the design, where so many different tissues are orchestrated to respond in such a specific and integrated way, is a source of profound wonder. This is the architecture of life, operating at its most intimate and intricate level. The quiet power of this sustained state is the central truth of your journey. Let us delve deeper into the cellular and chemical environment of this sustained plateau. Your journey now takes you into the realm of molecular biology, to appreciate the intricate dance of substances that maintain this state of quiet readiness. The hero of this part of the story remains cyclic guanosine monophosphate, or cGMP. As long as the parasympathetic nerves continue to release acetylcholine, which in turn stimulates the endothelial cells to produce nitric oxide, the levels of cGMP within the smooth muscle cells of the arteries and erectile tissue will remain high. This molecule is the on switch for relaxation and therefore for engorgement. However, the body is always a system of checks and balances. For every on switch there must be an off switch. In this case, the off switch is an enzyme called phosphodiesterase type 5 or PDE5. This enzyme is present within the same smooth muscle cells, and its sole job is to break down and deactivate cGMP. You can visualize a constant gentle tug of war. On one side, nitric oxide is stimulating the production of cGMP. On the other side, PDE5 is constantly working to clear it away. The sustained plateau of erection is achieved when the rate of cGMP production is greater than the rate of its degradation by PDE5. This creates a steady-state concentration of cGMP, holding the muscle cells in a state of relaxation. The balance is exquisite. It allows for a level of control that would be impossible with a simple on or off system. By modulating the amount of nitric oxide released, the nervous system can finely tune the level of cGMP, and thus the degree of vasodilation and erectile firmness. It is a dimmer switch, not a toggle switch, allowing for a vast range of responses. This ongoing chemical balancing act is the invisible engine that powers the entire plateau phase. It is a silent molecular process that underpins the macroscopic physical changes you have observed. Without this continuous production of cGMP to overcome the constant clearing action of PDE5, the erection would quickly fade. The stability of the plateau is a testament to the nervous system's ability to maintain a winning advantage in this gentle molecular tug of war. Now consider the oxygen levels within the engorged tissue. With the massive influx of arterial blood, the tissue is hyperoxygenated. The partial pressure of oxygen within the erectile tissue during this phase is significantly higher than it is in the resting flaccid state. This high oxygen environment is not only healthy for the tissue but may also play a role in modulating the activity of various enzymes and cellular processes. It changes the very metabolic state of the cells. The temperature, as you noted earlier, is also slightly elevated due to the influx of warm arterial blood. This localized warmth can increase the rate of metabolic reactions and may contribute to the overall responsiveness of the tissue. You are observing a localized shift in the fundamental biochemical environment. The tissue is not just fuller, it is operating under a different set of internal conditions. Let us also consider the role of other neurotransmitters and signaling pathways. While nitric oxide is the primary driver, it is not the only player. Other substances such as prostaglandins and vasoactive intestinal peptide can also contribute to the relaxation of the smooth muscles, acting as secondary messengers that support and enhance the primary nitric oxide pathway. The body often builds redundancy into its most critical systems, ensuring that the function can be achieved and maintained through multiple cooperative mechanisms. This layered approach adds to the robustness and reliability of the erectile response. The sensory information being transmitted by the 8,000 nerve endings is also a complex chemical process. The nerve receptors in the glands and body are mechanoreceptors, meaning they respond to physical stimuli like pressure and stretch. When these receptors are activated, they open ion channels in the nerve cell membrane, allowing charged particles like sodium and potassium to flow across. This flow of ions creates an electrical impulse, the action potential, which is the fundamental unit of information in the nervous system. This electrical signal is then transmitted along the nerve fiber. When it reaches the end of the nerve, it triggers the release of neurotransmitters in the spinal cord, which then relay the signal up to the brain. So the continuous feedback loop that sustains the plateau is at its core an unbroken chain of chemical and electrical events. It is a conversation between the periphery and the center, spoken in the universal language of ions, neurotransmitters, and action potentials. The beauty of this system is its seamless integration. The chemical events that cause the erection also create the physical changes that stimulate the nerves. The nerve signals in turn travel to the brain and cause the release of the very neurotransmitters that sustain the chemical events in the first place. It is a perfect self-reinforcing cycle, a loop of cause and effect that once initiated can maintain itself with remarkable stability. As an observer of this profound biological state, you can appreciate the layered complexity. What appears from the outside as a simple physical change is, on the inside, a symphony of coordinated molecular events. It is a world of enzymes and substrates, of neurotransmitters and receptors, all operating in a precisely balanced and controlled environment. The sustained plateau is not a passive state of being full, it is an active, dynamic and chemically maintained condition. It is a triumph of biological regulation, a state of heightened potential held in perfect chemical and electrical balance. The silence of the process is deceptive. At the molecular level, the activity is constant, focused and purposeful, a quiet storm of biochemistry that maintains the serene firmness of the engorged form. Let us now shift our observational perspective to the grander scale of the entire body, to understand how this localized sustained plateau in the pelvic region is integrated with the body's overall physiological state. The event you are witnessing is not occurring in isolation. The same parasympathetic nervous system signal that initiated the erection has broader systemic effects, creating a holistic state of calm that is conducive to maintaining the plateau. While the vascular changes are intensely focused in the pelvic area, the neurological command promotes a general state of relaxation throughout the body. The heart rate, for instance, may be steady or slightly lowered from a state of stress. The respiratory rate is typically calm and even. Blood pressure in the rest of the body is not elevated. The vasodilation is a localized phenomenon, not a systemic one, so the overall cardiovascular system remains in a state of equilibrium. You can observe this as a beautiful example of the body's ability to compartmentalize. It can create a state of high pressure and high activity in one specific region, while maintaining a state of relative calm and quietude everywhere else. This is the rest and digest mode of the parasympathetic system in action. The body is not in a state of alarm or exertion. It is in a state of profound, focused and receptive calm. This general state of physiological quietude is essential for the maintenance of the erectile plateau. The sympathetic nervous system, which controls the fight or flight response, is the antagonist to this process. The release of sympathetic neurotransmitters like norepinephrine would cause vasoconstriction, overriding the dilatory effects of nitric oxide and quickly leading to the loss of the erection. Therefore, the sustained plateau is dependent on the continued dominance of the parasympathetic signal and the corresponding suppression of sympathetic outflow. You are witnessing a state that can only exist when the body as a whole feels safe and relaxed. Any significant stressor, whether physical or psychological, could trigger a sympathetic response and bring the plateau to an end. This highlights the deep connection between the mind and the body in this process. A state of mental calm is a prerequisite for the physiological state you are observing. The brain, as the master controller, must continue to perceive a state of safety and non-threat in order to continue sending the permissive parasympathetic signals. The endocrine system also plays a background, supportive role. Hormones like estrogen are not directly involved in the mechanics of a single erectile event, but they are crucial for the long-term health and responsiveness of the tissues. Estrogen helps to maintain the elasticity of the blood vessels, the health of the vaginal epithelium, and the sensitivity of the nerves. It is the architect that builds and maintains the structures, ensuring they are ready and capable of responding when the neurological signal arrives. So while hormones are not pulling the strings during the event itself, their presence is foundational to the very possibility of the event. The sustained plateau is being enacted upon a stage that has been carefully built and maintained by the endocrine system over years. This broader context is crucial for a full appreciation of the process. You are not just seeing a momentary hydraulic event, you are seeing the culmination of a lifetime of physiological preparation and maintenance. The entire body in its quiet state is a willing and prepared participant. Now consider the flow of energy. The metabolic cost of maintaining this erectile plateau is remarkably low. The primary energy expenditure is in the continuous signaling from the nervous system and the enzymatic processes that produce nitric oxide and cGMP. The maintenance of the hydraulic pressure itself is largely a passive mechanical process once established. This efficiency is another hallmark of the body's elegant design. It can produce a profound physical transformation and sustain it for a long period without a significant drain on the body's overall energy resources. You can observe this as a state of serene efficiency. The body has achieved a maximum functional effect with a minimum of ongoing effort. As you broaden your perspective, you see a picture of integrated tranquility. A localized region of the body is in a state of profound and specific transformation, held in a stable plateau. This localized event is nested within a systemic state of parasympathetic calm, characterized by a relaxed heart rate, even breathing, and a mind free from the signals of stress or danger. The entire organism, from the molecular level to the systemic level, is coordinated in a single unified state of being. The plateau is not just in the tissue, it is in the nervous system, it is in the mind. This holistic view reveals the true nature of the female erection, not as a mechanical reflex, but as an expression of the entire organism's state of being. It is a physical manifestation of a state of safety, relaxation, and receptive presence. Your journey as an observer has taken you from the microscopic world of molecules to the grand systemic stage of the entire body, and at every level, you have found the same principles at play: balance, control, efficiency, and a deep, quiet elegance. The sustained plateau is a testament to this profound integration, a moment of perfect harmony between the mind, the body, and the intricate hidden architecture that connects them. Let us return our focus to the physical structures, but this time with an appreciation for their textural and material properties during this sustained state of engorgement. You are an observer of form and substance, a witness to a transformation in the very feel and consistency of the tissues. Before this process began, the erectile bodies were soft and pliable, their presence within the pelvic basin almost indiscernible. Now in the stable plateau, they have become distinct, palpable structures with a unique and complex texture. The body and crura of the clitoris, filled with blood under high pressure within the confines of the tunica albuginea, have achieved a state of firm turgidity. This firmness is not the unyielding hardness of bone, it is a living firmness, a resilient and responsive solidity. If you could touch it, you would sense a deep, powerful pressure contained within a flexible sheath. There is a quality of contained energy, of potent stillness. This texture is a direct result of the hydraulic principles you have observed. It is the texture of a perfectly inflated structure, where the internal pressure is expertly balanced by the tensile strength of its container. The surface is smooth, yet beneath it lies a profound and unwavering firmness. The glans clitoris, in contrast, presents a different texture. It is also engorged, but its containing sheath is thinner and more delicate, and it is composed of a slightly different type of erectile tissue, the corpus spongiosum. This results in a softer, more cushioned swelling. The firmness is present, but it is yielding, like a firm, resilient gel. This textural difference is a key aspect of its design. It allows the glans to be the site of immense sensory input without being so rigid as to cause discomfort. You are observing a carefully designed interface, where the material properties are perfectly suited to the function of sensory reception. The swelling of the labia minora offers yet another texture. Rich in blood vessels but lacking the formal erectile structure of the clitoris, they become pillowy and soft. The engorgement gives them a plush, velvety quality. The tissue feels full and substantial, yet it remains completely pliable. This change in texture transforms the landscape of the vulva, creating softer, fuller forms that surround and cushion the more focused firmness of the clitoral structures. The vaginal walls, now bathed in the transudate fluid, have also changed their surface properties. The normal folded texture of the vaginal rugae becomes smoother and more slippery. The walls themselves, engorged with the blood in the surrounding venous plexus, feel thicker and more cushioned. The vasocongestive cuff at the outer third of the vagina creates a distinct band of tissue that is both soft and firm, a gentle constriction that adds another layer of textural complexity to the region. As an observer, you can map these different textures, appreciating how the body uses the same basic process, vasocongestion, to create a wide palette of physical sensations and forms. From the deep, resilient firmness of the crura to the soft, pillowy swelling of the labia, the plateau is a landscape of varied and specific material properties. These are not accidental qualities. They are the result of millions of years of evolutionary design, each texture refined to serve a specific purpose, whether it is structural support, sensory input, or environmental preparation. The temperature of the region, as noted before, is elevated. This warmth is not a burning heat, but a deep, pervasive warmth that radiates from the core of the engorged tissues. It is a physical manifestation of the increased metabolic activity and the sheer volume of blood that now perfuses the area. This warmth would be a palpable quality, another layer of the sensory information that defines this state. It is the temperature of life, concentrated and focused in this specific anatomical zone. The entire region in this sustained plateau would feel alive and present in a way that it does not in its resting state. The tissues are not just passive structures, they are active participants in this physiological event. Their transformation in texture, temperature and form is the very language of the event itself. As you continue your quiet observation, you can hold all of these textural details in your awareness. You can build a complete, multi-sensory picture of this state, based not on subjective feeling but on the objective physical properties of the tissues. The firm column of the clitoral body, the soft tip of the glans, the plush pillows of the labia, the warm, slick walls of the vagina, all of these elements combine to create the full, rich reality of the erectile plateau. It is a state of profound physical transformation, a temporary re-sculpting of the body's own materials into a new and functional form. The wonder lies in the subtlety and the specificity, the way the body can so precisely control the material state of its own tissues, creating a complex and varied landscape of form and texture, all held in a state of perfect, stable equilibrium. The journey of observation reveals that the beauty of the human body is not just in its function but in its very substance, in the elegance of its living materials. Let us now consider the concept of time as it relates to this sustained plateau. Your observation has been focused on a state, a condition of being, but this state exists within a temporal context. The female erectile response is not instantaneous, nor is it meant to be permanent. The beauty of the plateau you are witnessing is that it is a temporary, reversible transformation, a state that can be entered, maintained, and then eventually exited. The duration of this plateau is highly variable. It is not governed by a fixed biological clock. Instead, its length is determined entirely by the continuation of the initiating signals from the brain. As long as the parasympathetic nervous system continues to send its stream of maintain commands, and as long as the chemical balance of cGMP production outpaces its breakdown by PDE5, the plateau will hold. It could be a matter of minutes, or it could be significantly longer. This temporal flexibility is a critical feature of the design. It allows the response to be tailored to the specific context and duration of the stimuli that caused it. You are observing a responsive, adaptable system, not a rigid, pre-programmed sequence. The body has the capacity to sustain this state of readiness, to wait in this quiet, potential-filled equilibrium. This ability to hold is a testament to the efficiency and stability of the underlying mechanisms you have explored. It requires a continuous low-level expenditure of energy, a constant stream of neural communication, and an unbroken balance of chemical messengers. The fact that the body can maintain this complex state with such grace and for such variable periods is a marvel of physiological endurance. Consider the cellular processes over this duration. The cells of the erectile tissue and blood vessels are not static. They are living entities constantly consuming nutrients, producing energy, and clearing waste. The steady, slow perfusion of blood through the engorged tissue, even with the venous outflow restricted, is vital to supporting this cellular life over time. It ensures that the tissues do not become ischemic or damaged, even during a prolonged plateau. This is another layer of the design's elegance. It has a built-in life support system for the duration of its operation. The sensory nerves also adapt over time. While the 8,000 nerve endings are capable of continuous signaling, the brain's interpretation of that signal can change. A constant, unchanging stimulus may lead to neural adaptation, where the brain begins to pay less attention to the signal. This is a common feature of the nervous system, preventing it from being overwhelmed by continuous background noise. However, the erectile plateau is a dynamic system. Small shifts in pressure, subtle movements, or changes in temperature can create novel patterns of stimulation, keeping the sensory pathways engaged and the feedback loop to the brain active. The plateau is therefore not a monotonous state, but one capable of subtle, internal dynamics that help to sustain it over time. As an observer, you can appreciate this temporal dimension as another aspect of the system's profound control. The body is not just the master of form and function, but also of timing. It can initiate the response, hold it in a stable state for a flexible duration, and as you will see, it can terminate it with equal precision. This mastery over time is what makes the entire process so functional and adaptive. It is not a runaway chain reaction, but a carefully managed and reversible event. The plateau you are witnessing is a specific chapter in a story, a middle part that is defined by its stability and its potential for continuation. It is a state of being, but one that is implicitly understood to be temporary. Its beauty lies not only in its existence but in its eventual graceful conclusion. For now, however, your observation continues within this extended moment. You are suspended in this period of sustained readiness, a witness to the body's remarkable ability to pause, to hold a state of profound transformation in a quiet, stable balance, waiting patiently for the signal that will write the next chapter. The silence of this sustained moment is filled with the quiet hum of continuous life-sustaining processes, a testament to the body's ability to manage not just space and matter, but the very flow of time itself. The plateau is a moment of controlled time, a space carved out of the normal flow of physiological events, dedicated to a specific and profound purpose. The journey of observation now enters its final phase. Every process in the body, no matter how profound, is part of a cycle. After the sustained plateau, the state of quiet readiness, comes the return to baseline. This final chapter is not a failure or a collapse, but a controlled and equally elegant process known as detumescence, or resolution. It is the graceful dismantling of the erectile state, a return to physiological stillness. The process begins, as it must, with a change in the signal from the brain. The initial stimuli may cease, or the brain may simply issue a new command, shifting the balance of the autonomic nervous system. The dominant signal is no longer the parasympathetic maintain command, but a growing influence from the sympathetic nervous system. This is the same system responsible for the fight or flight response, but here its action is not one of alarm. It is simply the off switch for this particular function. Sympathetic nerves that innervate the pelvic region begin to release their own neurotransmitter, primarily norepinephrine. This molecule has the opposite effect of nitric oxide. It binds to receptors on the smooth muscle cells of the arteries, causing them to contract. The inflow gates, which have been held wide open, now begin to close. The vasodilation that was the very foundation of the erection starts to reverse. The arteries constrict, their internal diameter shrinks, and the robust flow of blood into the erectile tissue diminishes to its normal baseline trickle. Simultaneously, the chemical balance within the erectile tissue begins to shift decisively. The production of nitric oxide ceases as the parasympathetic signal fades. Without new nitric oxide being produced, the enzyme PDE5, which has been diligently working all along, quickly gains the upper hand. It efficiently breaks down the remaining molecules of cGMP. As the cGMP levels plummet, the smooth muscle cells within the trabeculae of the erectile tissue can no longer remain relaxed. They regain their tone, they contract. This contraction has a twofold effect. First, it squeezes the blood out of the sinusoidal spaces, actively pushing the trapped volume out of the tissue. Second, the contraction of the tissue itself releases the passive pressure on the draining veins. The emissary veins, which had been compressed by the swollen tissue and the taut tunica albuginea, now spring open. The outflow gates are now fully unobstructed. You are witnessing the perfect reversal of the initial process. The inflow of blood is drastically reduced, while the outflow is fully restored. The hydraulic system begins to drain. The pressure within the corpora cavernosa and the clitoral bulbs rapidly falls. The firm turgid structures begin to soften, their volume decreasing as the blood exits back into the general circulation. The entire clitoral apparatus from the deep crura to the external glans begins to shrink, returning to its pre-aroused size and texture. The deep, resilient firmness gives way to the familiar softness of resting tissue. The process is typically swift, though its exact timing can vary. The body efficiently and completely dismantles the structure it so carefully built. The external changes follow in short order. The labia minora and majora, no longer engorged with excess blood, return to their original size and color. The vasocongestive cuff at the entrance to the vagina subsides. The vaginal walls return to their resting state, and the tenting effect reverses as the uterus and cervix settle back into their usual position. The entire pelvic landscape, both internal and external, reverts to its baseline topography. The elevated warmth dissipates as the concentrated blood flow disperses. The heightened sensitivity of the nerve endings diminishes as the physical pressure and stretch on them is removed. The entire system returns to a state of quiet equilibrium, the same state in which you found it at the very beginning of your journey. This return to stillness is a crucial and healthy part of the cycle. It allows the tissues to rest and recover, ensuring their long-term health and readiness for future responses. The body has completed its work. It has enacted a profound transformation, sustained it with perfect control, and then dismantled it with clean, quiet efficiency. Your journey as an observer is now complete. You have witnessed a secret, silent world, a marvel of biological engineering from its inception to its resolution. You have seen how a signal from the brain can command a cascade of vascular and neurological events, creating a state of heightened potential. You have explored the intricate architecture of the hidden erectile structures and appreciated the stability of the sustained plateau. And now you have witnessed the peaceful return to stillness. The final state is one of calm and resolution. The body is at rest, the intricate machinery lies dormant, ready and waiting, a testament to the quiet power and profound elegance hidden deep within the human form. The cycle is finished, the story told, ending not with a peak of action but with a gentle, peaceful return to the silent, steady rhythm of life.